Hi everyone! In this episode, we're visiting Opal Minded's workshop in Janda. Vicky, a local artist from Windura, introduced us to Ron, who is an opal miner in the area. And we obviously have taken full advantage to discover some of the characteristics of this precious gemstone. How do you look for opal? Well, the rocks look all the same to me, but what type of soil? Like what?
The sandstone.
Soil?
Sandstone. Yep, sandstone. But see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's even small, but brilliant colour. Because if you turn around, it goes all the way through.
Oh yeah! Wow. How do you know it's a good quality opal? What is
Well, that's it.
the color?
The colour has to be red
Red.
on black.
And just briefly explain to us the different grades of opals. Where does it start? What's
Red,
the
green.
least?
Red, green, blue.
Red, green.
Red, green, blue.
Yep.
Okay, so
depends
red
on-
is the
Yeah,
the
but
top.
depends on the background. What's
Yep.
underneath it.
Oh,
That
the
was
back-
white, right? You can see this is dark.
So the darker.
The darker, the better.
Can anyone go opal mining or
Yeah,
anyone can go opal mine?
yeah. If you got,
Do you need like?
Now, there's public places and then obviously there's leases and claims.
What do you need?
What's the difference there?
Yeah.
First of all, you need a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? Because you need to
Big equipment.
Big machine.
A big machine. Well, depends how big the lease is and where you are. Lightning Ridge is different to here. Here you can have 200, 400 acres, whatever. But you got to pay the lease, the bond, rehabilitate the same thing when you're mining. And lots of money. Because by the time you find opal, it could be maybe 1 year. So you have to have backup. And as long as you got all the paperwork done, you can go mining. It's Australia.
Are there public places where just amateurs like I can just go scavenge the ground and find little bits of potch and stuff worth?
We call them
Putting on a
fossicking
shop.
areas. You'll
Yeah.
find them on maps, tourist maps.
In
But
Queensland?
here in Quilpie, for example, there's a fossicking site where people dump their offcuts.
Oh,
We got
yeah?
one here, right?
Yeah.
Windora's going to work on one because we got dirt ready for them.
Yeah.
It's offcuts we don't want. There could be something
Yeah.
in there. You'll find something always. But public ones on mines, no, not really, because all illegal work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, before you have to come to the mine, you have to sign papers, right? So we just don't let anybody in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard you talking about porch. Can you explain what porch?
Watch is open with no colour.
So,
Right, yeah, so that's colour,
Yeah. That's
and see that's all potch. And then we might be able to take this potch off and there might be colour underneath it.
Yep.
So you can see the dark line there. So normally we would make a stone facing this way.
Yep.
So it sits on the dark. Yeah, what you try to do is find the absolutely perfect stone.
Yeah. Right.
So the perfect stone makes more money.
Perfect. Perfect.
So try to keep the sun behind you so that the sun is like you're seeing when
Yeah.
you pick something up, the sun is shining right on it. So when you're doing the sawing, this is quite soft stone on the outside. So I want to get as close as I can to the face, what I want to be the face of the opal. But you don't put too much pressure because you let the saw do the work. If you put too much pressure or bend it, then it'll get all cracked up, no good, and it'll wreck your saw. So you've got to make sure this only goes in a straight line. Okay, so I've got a little bit of ironstone there,
Yep.
and I can still see my face there. So this is a cabochon machine. It has 6 wheels, starting from a low grit, like diamond wheel, 2 hard diamond wheels, and each level goes up to 3,000 grit. So it starts fairly low, about I think it's probably 600, up to a 3,000. So you work through each level to get a polish. So this stone is almost like really rough like this, you can see. And we've just taken the face off to get this little bit of colour, but the colour is so very thin that we can't really get a major cabochon or anything on this one. So it's more of a specimen piece, and we'll take off the edges, and it'll be a nice paperweight. Pretty much.
Sit on the dash of the car on that side.
I don't know if I'd want it on the dash. You know, that's some heavy duty glue, but it's really quite pretty.
How does opal form?
As water has filtered down, as it's rained and the water has come through the soil, it goes down and sort of hits different layers in the dirt, like sandstone and clay. And when it gets to the clay, it kind of can't go very much further. So it sits there. Then the water becomes like a silica with the sand and everything, becomes a silica. And then opal really doesn't have any color. It's just the diffraction of light through the silica that you get your color. So when the opal forms these little spheres, these little spherical prisms, and depending on how closely those little prisms are packed, the light actually comes through and diffracts in between the spaces. So like square blocks hit up next to each other, there's no space in between them, the square or triangular prisms. But with spherical prisms, there's always those little gaps, and the diffraction of light through those little gaps is how you get the color. So the tighter the spherical prisms are, the brighter the color, like the reds and the electric greens. And if they're sort of spaced out, the diffraction is not so intense, and so you get your pinks and your purples and your podge.
Yeah. Where does your love for opal come from?
So is this my best slide?
It's awesome.
My wet shirt.
The best.
So
Some of your best ones.
when I was a little girl, my dad met these beautiful people, the Bennies, and Sophia Benny taught my dad how to cut and polish opals. And he was a very good cutter and polisher, and Sophia was the best, probably one of the best in Australia or the world. And so my dad was really fortunate to learn from her. And as a child, I grew up watching my dad cut and polish opals, and I remember he had a big setup like this out on the veranda of our house in Quilpie. And if I couldn't sleep at night, I'd go out and watch and just sit beside him and watch him cutting and polishing the opals, which I loved because the colours are amazing. And I've started learning to cut and polish opals, and I love it. So this is kind of a processing area that I have here. And I go through the rocks just to sort of see if there's any colour in them. We've sliced them up. We're sort of getting an idea of different pieces that might have a little something in it. So what I do is I put a little bit of methylated spirits in a little container, and this will push out any water that's been in the rock. So because we've been slicing on the diamond saw, we don't want, the sandstone often soaks in a bit of water, whereas the opal is fine. But if it had any cracks or anything like that, we want to get rid of the water because you can't see the cracks when there's water in it. So what we do after we've put it in the metho and we get the all the water pushed out of it, we're going to check it, let it dry. But this is a dopping stick, and this is just a green jeweler's wax. And basically I just warm it up, make sure I've got the wax to the end of the stick. But what I'm going to do, and this is really important, because the wax melts quite quickly, I've got to heat up the stone as well, but you don't want to heat it too much. If you heat up a stone and it's got any little cracks in it, it will break. A little bit. Okay, so this is our little piece that Mariella found yesterday. It's got beautiful little colour, which you can't see at the moment because it's not wet and it doesn't have a polish on it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take off this sandstone. We decided it already had a bit of a slice here, and this was the throwaway piece. So we've sliced it up again, but we're going to see, even though it's very thin, we're going to see if we can get a very small cabochon. So fingers crossed.
Yep.
And let's make some noise. I know, you have to watch. If I have to do it, you have to watch. All right, here we go. This is where it really counts. The pressure. We didn't use a formal shape, so this is a free form. I'm trying to use the whole wheel Just to
The longevity of the wheel.
longevity of the wheel. That's right. Yeah. Okay, next wheel. Now the reason that we have the 6 wheels with the different sanding grits, this will give us a chance to go over. We want to make sure that we get all the scratches from these wheels out, and then this wheel will get the scratches out from this by moving up to that one. So now I'm actually going to start putting a little cabochon on. So I'm going to do, and I'm using these wheels because they're a little bit more worn, so they're not going to go as fast.
Now
I'm gonna
explain to
put
us,
the
what's,
edging.
what's a cabochon?
The cabochon is a rounded top. So a diamond or an emerald, you might have a faceted cut, and it has the little edges and the corners and the sides. But with opal, a lot of we don't facet opal, we cabochon. So you get a beautiful rounded shape over the top. So you can see starting to round off the edges.
Yeah.
Gently, gently. And then I'm going to start working in a circular motion to take that cabochon all the way across the top.
Have to say, okay, this stone, after you worked it through all this process, and you have
And
to go
chuck it away.
Chuck it away.
Yeah, it hurts. There's tears. But it's nice you work it here and so you get a lot
It's
of,
a lot of time.
you get a lot of water spraying up on your face, and so the tears just blend in with those.
Yes.
Okay. I'm feeling to make sure there's no rough edges. Let's move on. I'm going to do my sides again first. Every process, you just get yourself into a rhythm of doing the same process on each wheel. Just dry them off in between wheels. And I put my loop on. Still got some nice little colour pieces in it. There's a lot of little blank areas though, but it'll make a nice little piece. Now this is the last wheel on here, which is pre-polish. But it's not the last step. There's one more after this.
You've got a website that like you making your own creation, and soon you're gonna share them on your website. Is that something's gonna come out soon?
It is, and it's very new. So because I've only been learning for the last couple of years, in the last couple of months I've started an Instagram page and a Facebook page, and I've got a website that's not up yet, but it'll be up soon, and it's called Opal Wanderer.
Definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, we'll pop a little link in. Yeah. To the polishing wheel. So as you can see, we've given everything a bit of a wipe down so that there's no major dust particles. And this little tray that I've got here, and this wheel, this is a felt wheel, and I'm using a product called Cerium Oxide Pink. It's optical grade, and basically it'll give us a nice glassy finish. Let's make some noise. So we've got to wet this down. The centrifugal force will push the water and all the stuff out. We get it on there. And then we do exactly the same as we did on the wheels, but this time instead of working on this angle, we're on this angle. So we're going to work the sides. But don't worry about too much because we're still going to do the backs and finish that off. Okay, so now that this has been in the freezer, there's a beautiful colour, and we take it out of the freezer and it just literally pops off the wax. So now that we've got all the opals that we've cut and polished the face, we're going to take them off their little sticks now. They've been in the freezer, and this is like a little ultrasonic cleaner. So I'll just move them around in there, and that'll clean off a lot of this polishing compound, and we just go. Okay, so now we've been through the ultrasonic cleaner. As you can see, there's all the little polishing compound is all in the water here. You can't see the stones, but they're in there. So if I pull out some, a little bit of fun. It has some little colour in it. You did end up finding that it had some cracks and things in it, but we thought we'd polish it anyway because it's just an interesting little piece.
All right, so this is the last of the process, and that's
It's not really the last part of the process because now we've done the front, we've done the face, so now we have to organise the back. So what we would generally do is put them back on the chopsticks like these. Like these ones here, we'd put them back on the wax, but we'd turn them upside down. So rather than doing the face, we'd do the back. And same process, because you want the front and the back to look beautiful, and then you don't have any sharp edges. So yeah, a little bit longer to go, but you've seen it all before. It's just exactly the same, just upside down. Topsy-turvy world.
Well, that's it with another episode. A special thanks to Vicky and Ron for having shared their time and experience with us. Be sure to check our socials. Thanks again for watching. Click the like button and make sure to subscribe.